to the Litigation Psychology Podcast, brought to you by Courtroom Sciences. Dr. Steve Wood with my buddy here, Bill Kanasky. We're here in Daytona Beach, Rockville,
Daytona Beach, Florida, baby.
Rockville 2023. Bill and I decided we wanted to take a little bit of time off and meet up and go to some rock concerts. We tried to plan this last year. We got some things that had to move around, so we moved it to this year.
Yeah, Steve, can you please define for our listeners, because I'm not sure there's many trial attorneys or claims adjusters at Rockville. I don't think I noticed any in the crowd. It was a very unique crowd.
Yeah.
So we got 4 days, from noon to 11 p.m. And how would you describe the bands? This is a heavy metal.
It's a heavy metal.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, this is heavy metal.
It's not for everybody, folks.
No. It's definitely an eclectic mix, right? I mean, blue collar, good people, hardworking.
Very, very, very good people. Very interesting people. Some very odd people.
Very odd
with the costumes.
Yeah.
And the shirts. But what we got here is 91 degrees and sunny, and I mean beautiful at night. Yeah. And we got 5 stages. It's
I think 4 stages.
Yeah, 4 stages. So we've been tracking roughly 15 to 24,000 steps a day.
Yep.
How do your feet feel?
They're miserable right now. My body hates myself in the morning.
It's terrible. And we've actually both been going to the gym in the mornings before this, but this is not for the faint of heart.
It's not.
No, this is you've got to be in tip top physical. I still feel like I've been beat up by 10 guys.
Well, strangely enough, I don't know if it's the same here. I mean, we're staying at separate hotels, but at my hotel, there's been a mass exodus of everybody leaving today. Yeah. No one's sticking around for Sunday. No one wants to.
4 days of this is not for everybody.
No.
Maybe the 2-day pass is better for some.
Yeah.
But we did notice where was the they'd said something out, essentially saying the safety of all the patrons was the top concern, which we do not believe for 1 second based on the activities we have seen here.
Bill, you'll like this though, actually. So there was a thing about, it said no crowd surfing. I don't know if you noticed it the other day. There was a guy crowd surfing with the sign that said no crowd surfing.
He's holding the sign.
Holding the sign.
No
shit.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of crowd surfing. Yeah. Now there's clearly signs that say "Do not crowd." And they have the symbol for that. It's quite impressive, by the way. It's a symbol of, I guess, crowd surfing with the big
with the big red
red circle with the cross through it.
Yeah.
But no, amazing time. Yeah, no witness prep, no jury research for 4 days. Working all morning though. My emails lighten up. Yeah, however, rocking and rolling here in Daytona Beach. We are in the lobby right now, the Hilton Garden Inn on Midway Avenue, right across the street. And this thing is in the infield of the Daytona International Speedway. So this is a huge complex. And I've been to this several times. Very, very fun. But again, I think the key is mental toughness, because you want to quit at roughly 6:30, 7 o'clock. You just want to quit because your body's like, this is a really, really bad idea. And I think every morning I've woken up, I've just been thinking of an excuse to go home. Like my body's like, this is not good. But we are going to complete day 4.
That's right.
So the purpose of this podcast, we're going to review our new paper that just got published in CLM's magazine, which is going to rub a few people the wrong way, but that's just what we're about because we're disruptors in the system, and we're very okay with that. But listen, folks, insurance claims people, I know how hard you work. Trial attorneys know how hard you work. You got to take some time off and blow off some steam. I'm not suggesting the mosh pit. I don't go in the mosh pit. There's several reasons for that. But make sure that you are doing something fun and not working too hard. Now we're going to get back to this, the bracelet theft story. I'm going to save that till the end. My wife had a little issue in the merchandise mart over here.
Yeah, I'm not stealing your thunder on that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. But let's talk about the new paper. And the new paper is all about preventing nuclear settlements at deposition. And we've talked about this topic numerous times. And this is the topic of witness pivoting during testimony. I've never been a fan of it. I'm very outspoken about this. The first paper I wrote about this was the amygdala hijack paper, talking about how when witnesses pivot, when I mean pivoting, I mean, but, no, because, no, because, no, because, and you're essentially dodging the question and you're arguing with the questioner. That is not a fair fight. That is a battle that the witness is going to lose 100% of the time. And they may be able to pull it off a couple of times, but I mean, an experienced, savvy cross-examiner is going to destroy the witness 100% of the time when that starts. And we felt another paper on this topic was important. Let's just talk about like, where did this start? I mean, pivot. So where pivoting started, and this is well documented, and we've put this into the paper because we wanted to back everything up, because we knew this paper is going to rub some people the wrong way, because there are some people out there that actively instruct and teach witnesses to pivot, and we completely disagree with it. And I think we have the data to back it up. But Steve, this is from the area of political science and debate theory, where now politicians, how they prepare for debates, they put hours and hours and hours in. They have coaches, and they are professionally trained to dodge questions, right?
Right.
I mean, this is what they do. And so they are trained to so when a moderator, right? So when these debates have moderators, is somebody from CNN or Fox or whoever it is, points out a fact, the politician says yes, but, and then goes off on their, explanation, and typically end up on a completely different topic. And it drives the moderator crazy. I know that. It drives me crazy. I know it drives voters crazy to an extent, but this is what some witnesses are being instructed to do during deposition and even at trial. We've seen the outcomes of this. It's been disastrous. I've done some math. Roughly 15% of the cases that I work on where I'm training witnesses are referrals from clients where that witness or another witness in the case has been told to pivot, and they've completely botched the deposition.
Yep.
And then we're coming in to fix things. Talk about your experience where you've come in to a case, a witness previously, right? That witness or a different witness, typically it's the same witness, right? And now you're prepping them for trial, for say, and they've been told to pivot all day, all night during their dep. And now you're trying to correct this damage. Tell the audience your experience with that and how difficult it is to correct those mistakes.
Well, yeah, so I mean, it's extremely difficult because when you think about it, then essentially they got two different things that they're listening to, right? They've been trained and coached to do it a certain way, and now all of a sudden you're trying to basically undo all the coaching that they've had. So yeah, a lot of times you get pushback on it, but I think what ends up happening is kind of when you explain and we go through our process and talk to them and show them how pivoting doesn't work or why pivoting doesn't work, and just how sometimes the embracing the conduct or just rejecting the negative attributions is helpful. So, once they're able to go through that and realize why pivoting looks bad, sounds bad, and then if you can just say yes, period, and move on, how it makes your life easier. And it also, you can, if you have the follow-up, right, you're forcing the questioner into the follow-up. And if they don't ask it, then you can save it later. But if they do, then now it's on your playing field. And now you're, but looks like a completely credible response because you've owned it and you say, yeah, so what? I did this. And there's a good explanation.
It's highly credible to own facts.
Yeah.
And a witness that actively avoids facts is going to look silly in deposition, especially in front of the jury. Let's talk about the data. So we had countless numbers of cases that we've experienced because we have parachuted in later in the case. This is a fact I'm about to tell you, and anybody that wants to argue with me they're more than happy to. You can come on the Litigation Psychology podcast and argue with me. Pivoting, particularly by multiple witnesses, leads to nuclear settlements. These cases are out of control. They're disasters, and our clients end up having to settle these cases for way too much. And now we do not teach this. We teach the polar opposite, which we call embrace and reject. That's our system, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But what ends up happening is Steve and I get called. Maybe the first two depositions I've gone, these witnesses were instructed to pivot. And these depositions are epic disasters. So now we come in to train the rest of the witnesses. We fix them. These witnesses do great. But the problem is those first two depositions, and if one of them's a corporate rep, I mean, the corporate rep, I mean, you're totally screwed. If you're in trucking, if it's the corporate rep or the safety director, you're in big, big trouble. And these clients can't recover from those depositions. And so what happens is during mediation or any type of negotiation for settlement, the plaintiff attorney is like, listen, I've got these two really bad depositions. I'm going to play these in trial, or I'm going to call these witnesses at trial. And if they try to wiggle out of it, I'm going to impeach them with this stuff. And so the clients end up having to pay way, way, way more on these cases because of this pivoting. So again, the pivoting is, there's two ways witnesses pivot. They get presented with the fact, typically a bad fact in the case, right? Okay, isn't it true your truck driver was driving 10 miles per hour over the speed limit, right? And they got the GPS data, it's right there. And the safety director says, but, and just starts yapping away, right? Being evasive, if not defensive, sometimes argumentative. And we put this all in the paper, by the way, which we'll talk about the rest of this podcast, is a good attorney is going to either cut that witness off or let them go and then counterattack, right? If that data is put in front of a witness that the driver was going 10 miles over the speed limit, the answer is, yes, that's correct. Yes, that's what the GPS data shows, period. There's no counterattack to that. But when you go on and on and on and on, it gets out of control. The witness inevitably says something harmful or just downright idiotic. And the plaintiff attorney just jumps all over it. And again, this can lead for a long, long deposition. So in this paper, we break down why pivoting, why we feel pivoting is so harmful, the origin of pivoting, and the both strategic and economic risks of the pivoting. And this is going to come in two parts, right, Steve? So we have part one was just released in CLM Magazine in the May edition. June, part two will come out. But we're very passionate about this because our job, we want to do two things. We want to help our clients reduce their economic exposure. And we know pivoting increases economic exposure. That's just like a no-brainer fact at this point, okay? And number two, we want to help our clients win. And we win a lot of cases. We win at mediation by getting very, very fair and reasonable decreased settlements. And we win a trial. And we know what we're doing with our witness training system, which we go towards what we call the embrace and reject. Meaning, so the witness pivots in two ways. They pivot away from bad facts. And then when blame and accusation questions come in, they start doing no because, right? So it's the but, no because that gets them in the hot water. And here's the incredible thing about it, which no one realizes. The plaintiff attorneys love it.
Yeah.
Or in fact, let's not even say, okay, and plaintiff attorneys, we know you're listening. We love you. No, listen, it's all good. Plaintiff attorneys, we know you're out there. Okay, you guys email me. You're all over my LinkedIn page. I have no problem with that. Okay, but here's the thing. Two things I know for a fact, because again, I do some plaintiff work. Okay, commercial litigation only, is plaintiff attorneys when they're deposing a key defense witness, they love it when the witness pivots. Of
course.
Why, Steve? Why?
Why? Because then they're yapping, and the more they talk, the more that they are able to identify things to ask additional questions.
Counterattack.
Yeah, exactly.
Counterattack. So we know the enemy loves us. But here's the thing, right? And the word enemy is all relative, okay? Defense attorneys who are deposing plaintiffs or plaintiffs' experts, they love it when the witness pivots.
Yeah.
Because now the defense attorney can counterattack. So plaintiff attorneys, learn from this podcast, right? The plaintiff attorney has to prep their clients.
Yep.
They're going to prep their experts. Plaintiff attorneys tell your witnesses not to pivot. If a fact comes up, particularly, listen, again, I don't mind talking about plaintiff stuff, right? Because they have to deal with a lot of the same issues. In a lot of these depositions, when the defense attorney is deposing a plaintiff, there's going to be bad facts for the plaintiff.
Right.
Particularly, talk about this, Steve. We've had cases where the defense does surveillance.
Right.
And it comes up in deposition. Well, okay, Joe, plaintiff Joe, well, you're claiming all these injuries, yet, we have video of you, doing a 360 dunk on a basketball hoop, out at the park down the street from your house. And there's two ways to handle that, is to say, yes, that's what the video shows, period. Or the plaintiff could say, yeah, but I was having a really good day that
That's what
day.
it was, right? Yeah. I have good days and bad days.
My opioids were kicking in that day. It took away all the pain. And, you don't understand what I go through. And so, I mean, this is a problem for plaintiffs.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I know that we always talk about, the bad facts and how when it comes up, you think this doesn't sound good. I need to try to fix it. But the key to it is to know that it sounds bad, but rather than say this sounds bad, I need to fix it. You just say it's a fact. I eat it and I move on. And the fact that I embrace it takes away any sting, takes away any power from anybody.
That's the key. It takes away the sting. It takes away the sting, and it takes away the counterattack. Because here's the thing: when these bad facts come up in deposition, the other side already has them.
Right.
There's nothing magical about these bad facts. It's just the witness is not comfortable with it. And that's the whole amygdala hijack fight or flight response pattern. And so, Steve, talk a little bit about once the witness starts repeatedly pivoting, they can get emotional. They can get really, really defensive.
Yeah.
And it's a neurochemical response that can last the rest of the deposition.
Right. Exactly. It's like, I always liken it when I'm talking to people about road rage, right? Where you get cut off.
Yeah.
You get up for, and then imagine you're going up another mile and they cut you off again. You go up another mile, they cut you off again, and you're basically spinning out of control the whole time, and you never have an opportunity to ever hit the reset button and come back. So, you're highly emotional throughout the whole thing. And then once that happens, bad testimony occurs. You say things, do things that you didn't necessarily mean to do. And then, afterwards you're looking at the depo transcript saying, why did I say that?
So we call it, again, so our system is called embrace reject. So when a bad fact comes up, you embrace it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what the document says.
Yep.
Yes, that's what the video shows. And shut up. Use a period, no commas. We have a no comma rule, right? Because the fact is the fact, it's coming out anyway. And here's the worst thing. And we put this in the paper. We have several examples in the paper. One I'm looking at right now is the trucking example. The other one's a medical malpractice. Here's the thing. When you pivot and you talk and talk and talk and but the attorney is going to reel you in and say, okay, well, that's really nice, but let's get back to the original question I asked you 10 minutes ago. And eventually, what does the witness end up saying? Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So you go 3 pages of deposition transcript, arguing, defending, evading. And in the end, what do?
You end up back where you would have been.
You end up eating it.
Yeah.
So suck it up, buttercup. Admit the fact, and then there's no fault. There's no fault. There's no counterattack. There's no counterattack. Now, Steve, talk a little bit. Okay, so we have embrace and reject. Okay, reject's the other side of this. And by the way, we have proven over and over again how effective this system is. Embrace facts. Talk about the importance of rejecting blame and accusation and how to specifically do that versus the no comma because, and then going off on your defensive explanation. That's just going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, I think, what I always tend to see actually is more of this reject, where you can really cut off the question, or even more so when you just say, no, I disagree with that, or not necessarily. But like you said, you cut off any follow-up, or you then say, wait, you don't agree with the fact that you fell below the standard of care. You don't agree with me that you deviated from this, that, and all this.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with that. Yeah.
It's not, and none of these pivoting answers, and Tad Eckenrode, a fantastic attorney out of St. Louis, Missouri, co-authored this paper with us. And when these witnesses pivot all over the place, I mean, it kills their credibility. Absolutely kills their credibility. And so when the blame questions come out, to say no, period, I disagree with that, period, it's going to force the questioner into a why, why not, exactly. How come. And now the witness has ample opportunity to explain themselves. Now, we don't want those to be long, elaborate explanations, but that gives the opportunity for the witness to then explain themselves versus the pivoting technique, which is you're forcing in explanations. I can tell you this, jurors cannot stand pivoting. Yeah. They absolutely despise witness pivoting because by definition, it's dodging the question.
Right.
And what a good cross-examiner does is makes the most out of that, exposes your evasiveness, and then in the end, you're going to cough it up anyway. And the perception of that absolutely destroys the witness's credibility.
Exactly.
So it's a bad idea all around. So we published this paper in CLM Magazine. Part 1 is already out. Part 2 is going to come out, and Part 2 really outlines the risks, right? And there's I think we outlined 10 different risks. We're not going to go over all of them in this podcast. We talked about hurting credibility, but other severe risks that you have is it lengthens the deposition. Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, you start talking, it lengthens the deposition, which is the last thing you want. The more information that comes out, the more attack, right? Talk a little bit about just the whole concept of cognitive and physical fatigue, and how the more you argue and evade a questioner, it's going to wear you down.
Right.
And then in the back end of this deposition, now you're going to make fatigue-based mistakes because you've been arguing.
Well, that's the biggest thing that causes me heartburn is when I think about it, because there's some really good attorneys out there that will grind witnesses down, right? And you've been given a good deposition for 5 hours, 6 hours, but then you get into that home stretch and you cough it up because you've been butting and no because-ing and all that type of stuff. So now you're fatigued. Like I said, you step in it right in the 6th hour when you didn't need to. You could have been out of there a long time ago in with a good deposition, but like you said, you wanted to argue, you wanted to pivot, and really good questioners aren't going to give in, or they're not going to give up, and then they're going to continue grinding.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the contrarian view. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. And we were very careful when we wrote the paper. Yeah. Because we know the people who are pushing this method, and they've given some speeches and stuff. And Tad himself has been to several of these speeches. And so I wanted to be fair to the folks out there pushing this whole pivoting thing, thinking it's a good idea. I'll tell you who pivoting helps emotionally. It initially, well, number one, it helps the defense attorney because they feel like, my witness is really giving it to him, but it's going to crash and burn. And it also helps the witness emotionally because the witness is being told, don't sit there and get beat up by this attorney. You go out there and you give them a piece of your mind. You have a spine, you have a backbone, you show them what you're made of. And so kind of at first empowers the witness. Little did they know they're walking right into the exact trap that the plaintiff attorney wants. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why you would want to tell a first time or even a 2 or 3 time opponent to go out there and think that they're going to win in an argument with an attorney.
So here's the foundation behind this. And we've seen this written in a couple of articles, that were published in DRI for the defense, which we've published in before. And I read this article on pivoting. I'm not going to mention the authors. And the premise of why they think it's a good thing. The premise of this is the following. 95% of cases settle. And never see a courtroom. Therefore, you need to win the deposition. And getting all of this argument from the witness out in deposition is going to improve your position for settlement. If you go to mediation, it's going to impress the mediator. That's the position on this. We're not attorneys, but we've seen the outcomes of these things. So from a consultant standpoint, I wholeheartedly agree that that's true. I think it does the opposite. I think it creates nuclear settlements because I've seen them happen. You can't argue with that. I'm sorry. And then we told Tad, it was like, Tad, Tad's our co-author. We said, Tad, you're the attorney. You've seen this occur before. You've seen the outcomes of it. What are your thoughts? And Tad puts in the paper, he's like, no, it doesn't help me in mediation. It does the opposite. It shows my witness flies off the handle. My witness is evasive and can't answer a goddamn question. My witness is defensive, argumentative. It doesn't help me with the mediator. In fact, it ruins my position in depositions.
Yeah, he said he came back and the mediators would say, hey, I don't think your guy's going to hold up at trial.
Doesn't get to hold up a trial because he can't answer a damn question during deposition. So Tad put his thoughts and concerns in the paper as well. And from the legal perspective, he doesn't think pivoting doesn't think it's effective, number one, but B thinks it causes a lot of strategic and economic harm. The other thing that we will bring up in part two of the paper is that when your defendant is pivoting all over the place, right, as they've been instructed to, now what if that defendant has said something that goes against what your expert was going to say?
Right.
So now
Nice. Yeah.
you have to eliminate your expert, or your expert contradicts your defendant because your defendant couldn't shut up, right? So I think we just think a lot of bad things can happen from this. It seems, Steve, talk a little bit about how pivoting may seem like a good idea on the surface,
Yeah.
right? Because
I
again,
can understand.
you're empowering the witness, okay, and you're saying, hey, you're going into this deposition, you're under oath, and we're going to train you to put up this fight, and you're not going to just get pushed around by this guy. Talk a little bit about the psychology behind building the witness up like that, but then the detriment of the witness doesn't really know that that's actually what the enemy wants.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, like you're saying, is you want to empower your witnesses. You want to make them feel like they're going to get their side of the story across in the deposition. But to your point, though, that's exactly what opposing counsel wants you to do, because the way it looks, the optics of the way it looks, and that you're going to look like you got your hand caught in the cookie jar. You got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, and now all of a sudden you're going to try to explain things away rather than just embrace it. So I can see where it comes from. It makes sense where you want to defend yourself, defend your conduct. But the truth of the matter is, as I always say, the deposition is not the time or the place to do that. There'll be a time and a place. It's not the deposition though. And you just have to get those witnesses comfortable by saying, you know what, nobody in this room thinks you did anything wrong. Just agree to feel comfortable with the fact that we get it. You can tell us your story all you want, but we don't need to do that in a deposition.
Yeah, the most effective answers I've seen in deposition are when a witness, and whether it's a plaintiff or again, plaintiff attorneys, we know you're out there. That's fine. I'm glad you're listening. This works for all witnesses, Steve. So if you're a defendant, or whether you're the plaintiff and you're getting cross-examined deposition and a negative fact comes up, if that witness, whether it's a plaintiff or a defendant, says, yes, that's true,
Where do you go from there? Right?
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
There's no value to that.
Yeah.
Wait, you didn't get no soundbite? That's a fact. That's coming out either way.
Well, I guess though here, Bill, this will be one of the arguments though that I hear sometimes, is that you get someone's to say yes, they get the yes, but they don't get the follow-up question. I guess the concern is though, now the soundbite they have is just your witness saying yes to a bunch of bad facts without any explanation. I think that's one of the other things that the thought process behind pivoting. So what do you think about that, as far as the witness that just says yes, period, but they never get a chance to get the follow-up?
Well, there's two avenues to consider here, and Tad does cover this in the paper. Number one, the time and the place for those explanations is trial in front of a jury. Those yeses aren't going to make a damn bit of difference at mediation, right? Secondly, defense counsel at the end of the deposition can take 15 minutes and ask a couple follow-up questions, not under attack, right, where the witness is not coming across as defensive or as evasive, where a defense attorney like Tad can say, okay, an hour ago you were asked, you were accused of X, and you said, no, I disagree. Now, I just want to get your explanation. Why did you disagree with counsel, right? Things like that. Or if there was a fact that maybe was taken out of context or something, and the witness agreed with it. Well, that's what you have. The defense attorney can ask questions at the end of the day to clear things up. So there's ample opportunity to fix that. But the other bottom line is, which again, Tad Eckner did a fantastic job in this paper. He says, this is like poker. I don't want to show all my damn. He's like, if the witness is pivoting all over the place, I'm showing all of my cards to my adversary.
Right.
Who's then going to go back to their experts and go, here's what they're going to do, and then use it against me in a trial. I don't necessarily want all that information coming out. So again, we've seen this over and over and over again. And we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. We feel, and we think we have the data to prove it, because our clients settle cases at really low values. I mean, I every week I get a call from one of my clients so happy. And here's the comment I get from multiple people. It's some version of the attorney, usually a plaintiff attorney. The plaintiff attorney was not able to land any punches against my witness.
Yeah.
or the follow-up witnesses. We went to mediation, or we had a settlement negotiation, and we settled the case for well under what they originally wanted. Now, people, that's all coming from the results of these depositions.
I just got an email just when we were here,
Yeah.
right? 4
Yeah.
witnesses I worked with.
Yeah.
All of them hammered it. It was really, really good.
And so the economic value of these cases is coming down because of the deposition performances. It has nothing to do with attorneys. The attorneys aren't testifying. These are the these are the defendants, these are the managers, the safety directors, the corporate reps. They are doing the embrace reject technique that we teach. It is working. Values of settlements are coming down. They're collapsing because there's nowhere to go.
Yep.
There's no gasoline on the fire. However, the other thing we see equally is when we get called to essentially clean up the mess.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, the first 2 witnesses that got deposed, they crash and burn. Can you fix the rest? And then we do fix the rest. But those first 2 that go, Steve, that case, that this may have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars in settlement value because of the bad deposition. So do we agree that most cases are not going to trial? Yeah, I agree with that. Do we agree that the way to do well at deposition is to pivot away from facts and explain away basic facts and to argue with questioners when accused of things? No, absolutely not. And we see this over and over and over. So again, if you want to avoid nuclear settlements, which of course you want to avoid nuclear verdicts, but if you want to avoid nuclear settlements, right? There is a way to do this with the witness where the witness can perform very effectively, tell the truth, not dodge. Well, again, we're talking pivoting is dodge. It's active dodging of questions.
Yep.
That's the empirical. We looked this up. We cited everything in the paper. It's dodging questions purposefully. That's what it is. Okay. It's non-responsive to questions by definition. Okay. And it may work a couple of times here and there, but then the savvy cross-examiner is not going to let the witness go.
No, not at all.
So let's end this story. Okay, another Rockville story. So my wife is going shopping.
Speaking of pivoting, right?
Yeah, speaking of pivoting, let's get away from this topic. So my wife's going shopping for some merch, right? And by the way, they make these cool bracelets where they make them out of guitar strings. So she's trying some on and she bought a few of them. And one of the ones she tried on, she forgot to take off. So 2 hours later, we're in the middle of a concert. I forget which stage. I think we're at the Zebra stage right here at the end. And she looks up at me like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "What?" I didn't know what the hell was going on. And she looked at her wrist and she's like, I stole the bracelet. I stole the bracelet. So I'm like, what do you mean you stole the bracelet? She's like, well, I was trying different ones on. And I forgot to take this one off. I don't know what to do. I said, well, you got it. You can't just steal a bracelet. You gotta go take it back. She goes, well, and then by the way, the walking distance between things here is incredible. We're putting on 8 to 12 miles a day in steps.
Easily.
And so the walk back to this place is impressive. And so she's like, well, maybe I'll just take it back in the morning. I'm like, do you know what the optics of that is? Yeah. Hey, by the way, I shoplifted something yesterday at 6:30 p.m. I know it's 2:00 p.m. the next day. I just, I hear it. Like, no, you gotta take it back. But yeah, she took it back, and so I went with her, right, to see the look on their faces, and the look on their faces was incredible.
I can imagine,
because she was there 2 hours ago, but she gave it back.
Good.
Did the right thing.
All right, I know it's been a little bit longer the podcast, but it was good. Like I said, good being here with Bill.
Don't pivot.
Don't pivot. That's been the take-home message. If you learn anything from it, all of our ramblings, the take-home message is don't pivot. Like I said, always go to courtroomsciences.com, all of our blogs, papers, posts, all that type of stuff. Reach out to me or Bill on LinkedIn. We're always on there. Happy to talk to everybody. Always glad for all of the listener feedback. We really, truly appreciate all you guys making this podcast and passing it around to everybody in the legal community. So we appreciate that.
Growing.
Yes, it's very good. So we appreciate that. Anyway, this has been another edition of Litigation Psychology Podcast brought to you by Courtroom Sciences.
Sit.